guys.
Mike and Chris were added to the COVID list. Are they out for Sunday?
They're not out for Sunday. Those guys, Mike and Chris, were close contacts of Keenan, and they are day-to-day.
And Brandon, you got Linval back today.
Yeah.
And so he's good to go.
Yeah, he's working his way back into practice, but he was out there practice and had a full practice, When I say full practice, he was out there, individual, and we were able to get him into some of the team settings. So he's trending positive for this week.
And you had mentioned his conditioning, and we know he's, we've heard stories about what he does, elliptical and all that stuff. So how does he look in that regard?
Good. I think he would tell you even better than I can, but I know that he feels good. I actually got a text from him during the game that I received after the game, and he was into the game, and he said, "Coach, I'm ready." So that made me feel good. Like I said, we were just making sure that we took the precautions to make sure that he was truly ready to go, and it's looking good so far this week.
Keenan tested positive?
He did.
Okay.
Yes.
But Mike, just to clarify, Mike and Chris did not?
They did not. They were just close contacts with Keenan.
Asante, we saw him back at practice today.
Yep.
Does he have a chance to play Sunday? Or?
He has a chance. He was out there, and he's still kind of in the protocol, but he's working his way through it.
Brandon, on the last game with the Bengals, we focused a lot on the tackle for Herbert and the catch there, but he had some big time throws in that game.
Yes.
Kind of watching the film again and what he's doing on the run, stopping, throwing it 40, 50 yards on the field. I guess how can you just describe the throws he's making or in that game?
The throws that he's capable of making, and there are throws that we certainly would like to feature. We've had a lot of those types of throws up throughout the season, and whether or not that's happened, is more dictated on the coverage systems and things like that. But any time that we can be aggressive, then we will. And he's certainly shown that he can access different parts of the field than most. And not only can he access them, but he can give his receivers a real opportunity to make a play on the football. And I think that really on the first throw to Mike on the pylon, that's as good of a throw as you're gonna find. The throw to JG, it was a longer throw. I didn't think that was as good of a throw as the pylon, but again, I think it was like 61.5 yards in the air. He can throw it farther than that, but just to be able to force the defense to defend late in the down like that, when you feel like you've got some wideouts and tight ends that can go do something with it, that's always an advantage. And then, I just think, the throw on the sideline to Mike, when he kind of boxed out Hilton, those are those one-on-one ops in the deep part of the field where you've got a matchup. You got a 6'4.5" on 5'9", and you're giving your guy an op to make a play. And so, I feel like that's hopefully something that we can feature throughout every game. Whether or not that expresses itself, I don't know. But I know that Justin, one of his strengths is his accuracy in the deep part of the field, because it's one thing, in my opinion, to have a strong enough arm to get it to those places, but are you throwing it accurately with good timing? And that's something that's a strength of his.
How difficult is it to prepare for the unknown when it comes to Sundays? Who's going to play quarterback for the Giants, whether it's Mike Lennon or Jake Fromm, for your guys as a defense?
Yeah, I think that we have an inventory of those players, inventory of Daniel Jones. He's certainly, been in the league now for a while, and he's been playing within that offense for 2 years now. And then Mike was able to play not only in the preseason, but then in a pro game last week. And, we're familiar with Mike. I was with him in Chicago and very familiar with his career and what style of player he is. And then, with Jake Fromm, not as familiar with him, but, you just certainly are defending their offense. And, they've had a change in coordinators. And then you're also prepared for all the other people that could play quarterback. So it's all hands on deck. But I think from a preparation standpoint, all you can do is assess the styles of the quarterbacks. Hey, assess the change since the play caller change, and then go from there.
Did any of your assistants or positional coaches play against Jake Fromm, since some of them are from college football?
Yeah, DA for sure. Being at Tennessee and Bama, would have played against Jake. And there's inventory of him as a preseason player here too. So we're familiar with him, and so we'll take a look at that. And then there's also the element that those other guys could play too. So we'll make sure that our guys are stylistically ready for all three.
Brandon, after the game, when you're talking about the false start on Steven and the 2-point conversion attempt, you mentioned that you had talked to the league about like how early they pump.
Yeah.
What exactly have you asked the league to like give you more time before
No.
you pump it, or like what were you talking to the league about?
Yeah, Daniel, what they made an emphasis on is that once you score, that clock is going to start regardless of like how happy you are, okay? and they're not going to delay that clock based off like your sort of joy in the moment. And that's an issue that I think that the league's going to take a look at, because there is a timing element to guys being on the bench and getting out to the field and then getting the right grouping. And, you saw it happen to Zach, too, and it's happened throughout the league. So I take full ownership of that, because we need to make sure that we do a better job of, organizing that situation. It's not easy because you can't predict it, like, oh, we just scored. But it's one of those things that we all are, the people that are on the bench just got to know, hey, when this thing's going down, when we're returning this fumble for a touchdown, that we need to be all hands on deck, because coach may say, hey, we're going for 2. So there's got to be that urgency to get our stuff ready. And it's really for both sides of the ball, because it could be the same thing, for our offense. Let's say there's an interception, fumble, something like that happens, then now the defense has got to be ready to go over there to defend a down. So, we got to do a better job. When I say I have to do a better job of making sure that we're ready for that moment.
But ideally, if they were to make changes to it, they would give you like a little time to celebrate. Like,
You would.
give you a little more time.
I think so. I just think, I think there's that subjective, moment, like, okay, there's been enough time. All right, here we go. And I think that, there's just that sort of acknowledgement that something big just happened. And
Your feelings is a point of emphasis throughout the league.
Yeah.
that's your way of putting it.
Legislating emotion out of the game, I think, is the part.
Yeah, but I got to do a better job, because, in that scenario we were hurried, and Steven, would never have done that had we gotten it out there sooner.
He jumped because he saw it was going from 1 to 0.
Yeah.
And we got to snap it, else
Yeah,
it's delayed.
for sure.
Brandon, what does it mean having Corey Linsley be nominated as a Walter Payton nominee?
Yeah, Fernando, I'm so proud of him. I think anytime, so you can't minimize the transition coming from a team that you've been with your entire career, and that you've kind of built your reputation and built your family, him and Anna, being a part of that community, and then you transition teams later or in the middle of your career. And they had made a huge impact in Green Bay with their Casa cause. And for him to come to California, to Southern California, and to immerse himself not only within our team, but within our community in such a short time, I think just says so much about him and Anna and their family and what it means to them to be a part of something and to really make an impact on something that's really important to them, and then spreading that to their new community. And I think he's just such a good example for how we're trying to build this team and who we're trying to build this team with. And so proud of the player that he is, the leader that he is, and the person that he is. And I think he's the perfect embodiment of a Walter Payton Man of the Year.
For the first year or two, how much of an advantage is it in interconference situations having a guy come in? Like when you're facing an NFC team this week, he's got 7-8 seasons in the NFC, and he'll
Yeah.
probably face the Giants more than a few.
Yeah, and I think just there's also the advantage of just understanding the style of play. When you got someone like Corey, he's played against all these defensive systems, and so, hey, Patrick Graham, to me, is one of the top coordinators in the league. I mean, Patrick, I've got a lot of respect for him. I don't know him personally, but I think he's a heck of a coach. But he's been in New England, been with Brian Flores down in Miami, so you kind of know that I've played against that system, that structure, and so Corey's inventory of experiences could maybe help some of the other guys that are newer to the NFL, and that identification process and that collaboration with Frank, Sean, Shane, Joe, and putting a plan together and working through those adjustments. So those inventory of experiences are very important when you're playing against a quality opponent like New York is on defense, because they do a really good job coaching over there.
Seems like Nas is playing really fast and has really come on recently. Just how close is he right now to sort of what you envisioned him looking like in your defense?
Daniel, I'm going to answer that in a sort of a two-part way. We are really excited about Nas, but he is nowhere close to where he's going to be. He is nowhere close to where he's going to be. He's capable of a lot. He's working through things. We have high expectations for that position, high expectations. And he's really starting to embrace that, the communication and little things that make a really big difference. And I think that him teaming up with Derwin and Derwin being able to bring the best out of him too is exciting. But he's at the beginning. But the thing that he's shown is that he can be a difference maker out there at times. All right, now we got to see that establishment of consistency and performance for him, where they're not flashes, they are bursts all the time for him. And I think that what we're doing, we're also figuring out how to feature him and where those little things are in his game that we can help him with, where Ronaldo and DA and Tommy can help him. But he's established himself as a player that can really play winning football for us. And he's the type of athlete that you'd want to be coaching back there. And now what we got to do is just polish his game. And a lot of it's just, the inventory of experiences and playing within our system. But I like the way he's progressing. And I think he's a player that will continue to improve the more he plays for us.
Brandon, let's just say in a perfect world, everybody comes back this weekend. You have Limbaugh, Asante, and everybody. Is it going to make it difficult for you the way some of these guys have played to have to cut somebody and maybe send them down to the practice squad to make room for some of these other guys?
Fernando, it's a great question. I don't think so, because Limbaugh and Asante are two of our best players. And I think that what I've enjoyed when those, because we've had a lot of lineup changes specifically on defense, is we've really gotten to establish depth for the long term. And we've had guys like, Braden and Forrest and Andrew Brown and all these guys. We've kind of been able to find out about them and put them in the fire. We've been able to find out about all these secondary guys that have filled in at corner. And I think as a coach, although it's really tough when you're going through it, there is a comfort zone knowing that you push through it and you've created a real insurance policy and a comfort zone if something happens, that these guys have been in the fire and that they're ready. And that's that cumulative effect of development that we really value. And our goal is to get our best players out there at the end of the season. And the fact that two guys that are starters for us and two of our best defenders are coming back for us, I think only strengthens us, and hopefully they can help us to continue to play our best football.
Just with Mike and Chris, I'm a little confused about how this is working procedurally. Because if they are close contacts, they have to be away from the team for 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 days from today would be Sunday.
It's 5 days from Monday.
5 days from Monday.
Monday
Like 2
was
days
one.
ago. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's they just went on a list today, but it's kind of like a retroactive thing.
Yes, their first day was Monday in terms of when they were diagnosed as a close contact.
So why were they placed on it today versus Monday? Do you know?
I don't know that.
Game on short turnaround next week. Do you already have some of the staff working on that Chiefs game?
Our quality control coaches are ahead of the plan, but I think Taylor. I think it's a part of the NFL that, as a coach, it's such a unique timeline that full focus on the New York Giants and then that tight turnaround. But I think that the way that I've approached it and the way I've tried to approach it with our staff is that, you cannot look to next Thursday. That's just not a part of your equation from a game planning process, your mind can't work like that. You can't be two places at once. You can't. Now, there's some guys that have the role and responsibility to break down the next opponent, but in terms of our plan and our engineering, this team is really good. And so we have to pour all of our energy into the Giants, and then once that game is done, then what we have to do is we have to be on that sprint to get ready for Kansas City. And I think that we've planned more. I think, Taylor, what's probably as important is the planning from a performance standpoint and making sure that after the game that all those procedures are in place so our guys can get that recovery, and that's going to start at the stadium after the game. And so we've done a really good job with our performance team of being connected on how that's going to unfold, because this time of the year, that's as important as just the game plan is hey, how are you going to get these guys back to go play really well on Thursday? So I've enjoyed that part of it. Last year, like I said, I was with the Rams at a similar timeline. We kind of went at Arizona, then home against New England in December. So familiar with kind of that timeline, and we'll kind of lean on some of that experience from moving forward, and hopefully we do a good job.
In terms of the practice schedule, you did walk through today.
Yeah.
normal Thursday tomorrow and a normal Friday, or?
Yeah, today our goal was just to get off the field sooner. We had the same amount of work, but just we went walk through into the practice, and so that they could get off their feet sooner, and we could get to the practice sooner, and they could get to the recovery sooner, kind of open up the back end of their day. And I think it's that time of year where it's important that you do that.
And then are you gonna walk through Monday or just do Tuesday?
So Monday will be a pure player day off, game plan, recover, and then Tuesday we'll do 2 walkthroughs, and then Wednesday will be a walkthrough into a practice. So the first time we'll be on the field will be Wednesday of next week. In terms of practicing, we will only practice once next week.
I know it's a small sample size, but how do you think the Giants' offense has changed under Freddie Kitchens?
Yeah, well, number one, Freddie's called plays in the NFL for a long time. So, I mean, he's a very established play caller. We played against him when I was in Denver 2019. And, he had a lot of success in Cleveland with Baker. And, it comes from an outstanding coaching pedigree with Bruce Arians and that crew. So, a lot of respect for him. And I think that you've seen some subtle changes in 2 games, but I think, the big thing was, they played last week with their backup quarterback with Mike, and Mike has started a bunch of games in this league, and you didn't see that big of a difference, but just stylistically, Mike and Daniel are very different players. But Taylor, this offensive group is really, really good. I went against this group last year, and, then they add Kenny Galladay. I was in the division with Kenny in Detroit. I defended him when I was in Denver 2019. And this guy's got real size. I mean, this guy looks like a pro wideout, like you want him to look. Really good player. I've got so much respect for Darius Slayton going into the game last year. Darius was a really big part of our process. Just think he's got real deep speed. And then Sterling Shepard, I think that guy's like super underrated. I'm a big fan of his game. Last year he didn't play against us. He got hurt, him and Saquon. But then they added this Kadarius Toney guy who was tearing up the SEC last year. We did a lot of work on him. And he's a difference maker. This guy can do a lot of things. And then, I'm just telling you, this Saquon Barkley guy, we had the number 1 run defense in the NFL, the number 1 defense in the NFL by a mile in 2018. And we went to New York and, getting ready for Saquon his rookie year. I mean, this guy is a real tailback. And, he's fought his way back. He's shown real toughness. And I've got full respect for this player. And, I think that they're really, really dangerous. And I got a lot of respect for their left tackle that they took 4th overall, Andrew Thomas, and evaluating him last year. I think he's got a real chance. And so, like, when I look at this team, they have a lot of weapons, like a lot of legit NFL weapons. And, it's not even talking about like John Ross, who runs 4.2. They've got a ton of players. And I think that if you take a look at their schedule and you look deeper into the film, you're seeing a team. It's not coaching conjecture or anything like that. That this team has real weapons.
You guys have a better record on the road than at home. Is that just a quirky thing based on the teams you played? Have you taken a dive into that at all?
I think it's more just the matchups. I mean, I think that I know we love playing at SoFi. We love playing at home. It's always good to play in front of your home fans, that's for sure. But I think it's more just the matchup than anything. And then I'm proud of the way we've played on the road, because I think that when you establish that you're a team that can go win anywhere on the road, then that's always going to be, I think, a big predictor of your overall success as a team.
Was Kyler back home? Knee injury, is it just soreness from the game, or?
Yeah, Kyler had a procedure on his knee, and he's going to be out this week for sure. But looking forward to getting him back at some point this season.
Possibly IR for him?
We don't know that yet, but like I said, he'll be out this week for sure, and then after that, kind of go from there. But it was just a procedure to clean up his knee. We do not anticipate it being a season ender, but we don't know that timeline to return for sure.
All right, thanks, Coach.
I'm guessing what Chris Rump did last week should help out with the depth of the pass rushers.
Yeah, similar to the secondary. I just think that us being able to take a look at all these guys and like having a guy like K9 is a guy that can flex and do some things, and then all the different personnel groupings that we can play with from a defensive line standpoint, having the ability of Tillery to do that job too, and he's played some on the edge, and Joe Graziano and stuff like that. So it'll be a team effort, but yeah, to your point, it's establishing depth for that reason.